Hello, Jabbles. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Calling about this Tom Cotton thing, and it's riled me up so much that decided to call the program for the first time ever.
Let me just be explicit what you're talking about. You're talking about the letter that Tom Cotton drafted and 46 of his fellow Republican senators signed on to the Iranian government, basically suggesting you can sign this deal with President Obama, but he's just the president for a year.
Yeah, completely undermining, the president's authority. The sort of the P5+1 sort of treaty negotiations going on in the UN and all that. But we're not going to let peace and prosperity get in the way of a good nuclear war, right? So, I used to sit back in my political science classes and used to look at all these these fraternity guys just going hooting and hollering and just being disruptive, and I knew that they were going to grow up to be businessmen and men of industry, but I didn't think that they would grow up to be U.S. congressmen and senators that would be bringing us to the brink of nuclear war with other nations because of their inability to understand simple constitutional principles.
But you do think it's that? I mean, look, there's two things I will say this. One, I think the Iranians are fully aware of what's going on in this country. So I don't think we are there. They are there's no doubt that the Republicans are trying to scuttle the deal, but I don't think it's going to be effective. I think really what they're trying to do is, Tom Cotton is a lunatic. And this is also the dynamic in the Republican Party. It's one of those things where there's such lunacy that when Tom Cotton, goes out to the edge of the bridge and says, "I'm going to jump off," who's with me? The vast majority of Republicans got to say, "We are too." And so, I mean, it just goes to show how, but you're right. I mean, these are the idiots at the back of the class who you thought weren't going to be engaged in politics. But for them, to a certain extent, it is a business. And even more so, it is just about sort of the branding that they have that is just, we're just in a very marginal business that happened to have just taken off. And suddenly this is our customer base. It is stunning. And they are pushing themselves further and further to the margins. And I'm very heartened, frankly, by the sort of the broader reaction to this, where it is even embarrassed, sort of like the war hawks to a certain extent.
Right, and it's good to see that you have some of these traditional conservative publication news outlets that are criticizing and are going as far as calling him a traitor and whatnot. I don't know if I would go that far, but I think it comes down to, it's like you said, your theory of the Frankenstein just run amok. But it's also a combination of just there's systematic inability for Americans to understand that people in other countries are just as, or if not more sophisticated than we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's Tom Cotton wrote that letter thinking, and even what he did with the translation in Farsi, thinking that these people were just complete simpletons that rode around in horses or something, and that's the problem that we seem to have, is that we lack the respect that we should have for other actors in the world, and subsequently, this is what ends up happening.
But I wonder if Tom Cotton actually, I really do think that the audience for that is not necessarily the Iranian people. I think that's just sort of like, I think from Tom Cotton's perspective, he's writing that for his own stupid supporters. I mean, I really do think that's the case. Because if he really thinks that he is writing that for the Iranian people, or really, frankly, any party outside of the United States, then it's even more disturbing on some level. I just think that he's like, it doesn't matter what the Iranians or the Brits or the French.
You know what we should do? We should write a letter to Iran but it will be like 4-hour people for like money.
Well, that's the
But
thing.
we'll
I just
say,
think it's a
like, this is
fundraising
to
thing.
Iran.
But
Be awesome. I like that idea that all of these guys are just like ex-frat brothers. Who
yeah,
are
but
just in on
frat
a-
brothers aren't
on
necessarily
a
talking
scam.
like that. They're more like I imagine them more the Massachusetts accent.
Oh, it's just like,
Hey,
dude.
thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
No, Iran's
All right,
like
thanks a
really
lot, guys.
scary. Thank you.
Yeah, Iran's.
No, I mean, dude, like I have nightmares. Where is that place again? Is that by
There's all sorts of Iranian cells in this country that are just waiting to blow us up.
They're just
And
like walking around, and one
soon as-
second they're giving you like a falafel, and the next second they're like planting a bomb like in your Chevy Nova.
As soon as the ink on that thing is dry, it's just as soon as it dries, they probably have some type of device which measures the fluidity of the ink on the thing. As soon as it dries, they bring probably what they would do is they put the explosives in the ink, in the pen. They sign it when it dries fully, like it takes 24 hours to cure. And so they bring the agreement back to the White House and put it in, like, I guess, a safe or something, and then it blows up.
Dude, that would make a rad Nick Cage movie. Like everything you just described there would just be awesome.
You could call it your death has been signed, sealed, delivered.
Dear Ayatollah Ahmadinejad, you may not understand how our government works, but we do.
Dear Iranian leader, please find in this box a Play-Doh version of how a bill becomes a law in this country. Okay, so I've done a little Play-Doh thing at a Capitol, and then I made it's based on one of those Sunday morning cartoons.